Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be something slightly different from my usual videos. Normally I'm doing some sort of nail art or some sort of slight nail education for different types of things, but for this video, as you can see here, I've got a bunch of different gel polishes, and if you might be able to notice, they are all orange. I have felt like I have been missing the perfect orange gel polish in my collection. And I've been on the hunt for the perfect one. So that's basically what this video is going to be today. It's just a bunch of swatches of me trying to find the perfect orange. I think I've mentioned it in a few videos. I mentioned it on my community tab for anyone to let me know if they have a great orange gel polish. And I've collected a whole bunch over the course of a few months. So I've been collecting a whole bunch of different brands, a whole bunch of different colors. And basically what I was doing was just going on the websites and finding stuff that looks like it might be the perfect orange. So I didn't buy any of these in person. It was all online shopping, and I basically based it off of the photos that they had online. Bunch of different brands, bunch of different stuff going on. I think I have 25 to 30 new orange gel polishes that I'm going to be swatching here today, and I am so excited for you to come along and hopefully find the perfect orange if you are also searching for that perfect one. Now, the fact that I have orange nails on right now is completely coincidental. Like I said, I have been working on this video for a few months, so buying lots of different gel products from all over and collecting them as they've been arriving, and I finally have everything in person, and I'm ready to do a whole bunch of swatches. So it was just a happy little accident that I happened to have my nails orange as well. So I think for the sake of just organization, to make sure I don't forget anything, I will just swatch everything in alphabetical order. So I think I'll go in alphabetical order of the brand and then the shade name, just to keep things neat and simple. And then we can hopefully find out which one is the perfect orange gel polish. Before actually getting into the swatches, I did want to show why I feel like I'm missing the perfect orange in my collection. So these are oranges that I already owned before going out on the hunt for the perfect orange. So these are ones that I've collected from different sets and just got them as one collects gel polishes. And as you can see, it doesn't feel like there's a perfect orange. These over here are a little too neutrally. This one's a little too peachy. That one is close, but it's very, very vibrant. It's a little too neon for what I'm looking for. That one is NailOrder Ibiza. Then over here, you can see they're starting to get a little bit brighter, more neon. And then as it goes along, this one's a little bit too yellowish. And then it turns into browns and deeper colors. So as you can see here, from what I just had collected over the years, I didn't feel like I had the perfect orange. Like I said, this one is pretty close, but it's still a little too bright and a little too neon. So I'm hoping to kind of fill in the gaps as we go along. Okay, so starting off with this one, this is called Luxio by Akzentz. So Akzentz is the name of the brand, and their gel polish line is called Luxio, so I'm just going according to Akzentz, and this is the shade Shock. So let's just see what it looks like on initial opening. Okay, so when I'm looking at it right here, and the camera's making it look a little bit more muted, but it's actually a very, like, almost like a hot, ooh, I am leaking. Well, that just ruined that paper. Hold on. I'll go switch that out because I feel like that's going to be super distracting. Okay, I got a nice fresh new sheet of paper, and as I was saying, it looks very like hot orange, and it leans on the side of neon. So I'm going to swatch it out. I've got swatch sticks prepared. I did write Luxio over here just because I wanted to be able to like reference it by the larger print, but whatever. For the sake of the organization, we'll go by Akzentz. Doesn't really matter, but I'm going to do some swatches, and we can see what this looks like because everything always looks different when it's swatched out. So I'm going to do 2 coats for everything just to give everything like its best shot, and so that everything can be kind of like judged equally. Okay, so here is the first layer. And like I said, it's just a little bit too neon, a little bit too like hot orange. So I don't think this is going to be the perfect one, but we'll do 2 coats and compare everything at the end. Next, I've got the shade Sweet Morning Dew from the brand Gelish. So let's see. I feel like from the color, yeah, this is way too muted. It's leaning towards the pinky side, and it looks like it's a much thinner consistency. So I feel like it won't even be as pigmented as I'm hoping. So we can do a swatch, but I have a feeling this is not going to be in the running for the final perfect orange. Yeah. I mean, the consistency is pretty thin. Not that that's a bad thing. That could probably like build up really nicely. I'm going to do the second coat off camera just to save time, but we'll do all the comparisons at the end. But yeah, this is just looking a little too pink. It's too soft. It's not exactly what I'm looking for. It's got like too much white pigment in there, making it just too much of a soft shade. So not exactly what I'm looking for. Next, I've got 3 gel polishes from HONA, home of nail art. We've got Sunset Ridge, Tigerlilly, and Tropicana. So let's see what we got here. So this one is Sunset Ridge, and similar to that Akzentz shade, it's just a little too hot in that color. You know, like a hot pink, that color that was super trendy back in, what was it, like 2005, 6, like that hot pink color. This is kind of giving me like a hot orange color. It's a little bit too vibrant. It's got a little bit too much of a neon look to it. It's very similar to that Akzentz shade, so I'll be curious to see how they compare next to each other once we're up to that point. But I don't think this is going to be the one for me. When it comes to like finding the perfect orange, all of these are stunning shades, and it's not like one of them is better or worse than the other, and all of these will be perfect for something at some point. And I love orange. It's one of my favorite colors, so I'm not upset to not find the perfect orange in all of these. It's just, you know, for the specific hunt for the perfect orange, this is not going to suit, and it's not going to fit the bill. But just as a color separate from what I'm looking for, it's absolutely gorgeous. So next we've got Tigerlilly by HONA. And this one is too light. So you can see it's got a pretty white base to it. This is kind of a color that I kind of associate sometimes with like Wacky Mac. It's like that bright orange, like cheddar powder that gets mixed in with some milk. And then it kind of gets this like soft, it's kind of like a mix between a pastel and a neon, in my opinion. It's like bright but light. Not that there's anything wrong with the color of Wacky Mac, and I love Wacky Mac, it's delicious, but this is not the color that I'm looking for, so it's just a little bit too light. It's got too much of a white base to it, so this is not going to be my perfect orange. However, it is a stunning color. And again, I'll do second coats for everything and fill in those little gaps there, but as you can see, it's a bit too light. And finally from HONA, we have this shade Tropicana. And this one is also too light. It's not as bright as the previous one, but it has a warmer base to it. You can see it's slightly leaning a little bit yellow. Not that it's like yellow. Obviously, if you put it next to a yellow, it won't look like that. It definitely looks orange, but it's almost a little bit too muted. It doesn't have the vibrancy that I'm looking for. So it's kind of like the opposite of the first one. The first one was too light and too bright, and this one is too light and just too like muted down. It doesn't have the brightness that I'm looking for, so we can swatch it out. Still, like I keep saying, it's a beautiful shade, and it's not like I'm disappointed in it. It's going to be beautiful, and I love all the oranges, but it's not what I'm looking for when it comes to the perfect orange. So we'll just do a little swatch here. Beautiful, but not what I'm looking for. So the next brand that I have here is IBD. They had a bunch of orange options. I have a feeling this one's just gonna be a little bit too yellow based on the packaging, but packaging doesn't always tell all the story, because from a lot of the colors that I'm looking, especially the ones from HONA, I thought those would be the perfect orange based on the packaging, and they just weren't. Also based on the swatches that I saw online, which is what most of these were based off of when I picked them. But we might be able to find a perfect orange in maybe this one or this one. It all depends on what they look like on the inside. So let's get to swatching. So starting with the shade Brazen Beat. Oh, actually, that one is not too far off. I thought it would look more yellow, but on the inside, it's definitely more orange. The question is, it's a pretty thin consistency gel. So the question is how it can be built up and what the pigment is like. Everything looks different when it's swatched out also, so we'll have to see, but this one is actually pretty close. It might be a bit too bright for what I'm looking for, but let's give it a swatch and find out. Now, the color with this one is absolutely gorgeous, and it's very close. But like I said, it's a very thin consistency. You can see it's a bit streaky. It's very watery. So for this one, I think I'll actually do the second coat on camera for you to see, so we can see what it looks like built up, because even if it's the perfect shade, if it's not buildable, then it's not going to be my perfect orange, because I'm not looking for a sheer orange. I'm looking for like a creamy, thick color. So if it's too sheer, even if it's close in shade, it won't be perfect for me and for what I'm looking for here, but it is pretty close. This could be a contender. Let's see how it builds up. The pigment really seems to have solidified and like strengthened after coming out of the lamp. So that's pretty cool. I want to do the second layer and see how it can be built up. Oh my gosh. This one looks really promising. It's bright, but not too neon. It doesn't have too much of a brown shade to it. This one could be really, really close. I love this shade, and it builds up really, really nicely despite it being such a watery, thin consistency. So I'm definitely going to mark this as a contender. The ones that seem like it's going to be the most likely, I'm definitely going to have compared all next to each other because everything looks different once they're sitting next to another color. So this one's definitely on the list to making it to the top. We'll see. But of course, the search is not done until it's done. So we're going to keep going. The next shade from IBD is called Eye-Poppie. So let's give this one a little bit of a... I'm going to give it a bit of a shake. Yeah. Just in case they like need to be settled. There are lots of different gels that, settle a little bit and they do better when they are mixed up a bit. Okay, so this one, oh, I'm not even in camera. This one is too dark. You can see it's almost leading towards the red side. So it's almost not even orange anymore. It's got the slightest hint of an orange undertone, but it's leaning quite red. So this one I don't think is going to be in the running, but it's still a gorgeous shade. Yeah, this one's practically red, so this one is most definitely not going to be a winner. However, this is a stunning color. It's like this deep, muted red tone. Gorgeous. And again, like the previous shade, it's got a watery consistency, so I guess that's just the type of consistency that it's got. So with the second coat, we'll be able to fill in the gaps a little bit. Definitely not going to win this round of finding the perfect orange. It's definitely not going to win this competition, but the color is gorgeous. Next up, we have Infinitely Curious. So I'm going to give this one a shake too. I don't think it really made much of a difference with the previous one because it was still watery, but just in case, it can't hurt. Give that one a bit of a shake. And I dropped this actually as I was unpacking it. So some of the packaging did chip away. So I have to be careful not to accidentally cure this. But based on the color inside, I think it might be a little bit too neon, but we shall see. So Infinitely Curious. I am infinitely curious to see what this looks like on the inside. Yeah. Again, I keep doing this off camera. I apologize. Way too neon for what I'm going for. Neon and too much of a hot, bright color. Similar to the one from Luxio / Akzentz, whatever you want to call it. I think it's darker though. So this one is too neon, too dark, too bright. Not what I'm looking for. And it's very sheer. Again, we'll see how these build up, especially with these IBD gels. They are quite sheer going on, but they do have potential to be built up pretty nicely. So we shall see. But this one, I don't think is going to be the winner. It's close when you swatch it out in this first layer because it's quite sheer. But because I'm not looking for a sheer color, I'm looking for a more dense pigmented shade. We'll have to see what it looks like when it's built up because that's really going to be the test. But I think this one is just too bright, too hot, not what I'm looking for. However, it is a stunning color and I feel like this is summer in a bottle. So gorgeous color, just not the perfect orange. And lastly, from IBD, we have Sunset Strip. And this one is leaning, well, it's not really pink, but it's leaning towards the corally side. And I'm not looking for a coral. Coral is gorgeous color, and it has its place most definitely, but not for this search of the perfect orange. So I don't think this is going to be it. But again, especially with these IBDs, I keep saying it, but they're quite thin. So when they're built up to the intensity that I'm looking for, they look different for sure. So let's see what this looks like. Yeah, it's too pink. It's too pink for what I'm looking for. I mean, it's definitely not like a bright pink, but it's got that like slight pink undertone that's making it too corally for what I'm looking for. So I don't think this one is going to make it into the winners. However, this is a gorgeous color. And again, I can't wait to see what it looks like built up. It just has too much of a slightly pinky undertone. It looks a little too corally for what I'm looking for. Next up, we have Kiara Sky and the shade Peelin Good, which is such a cute name. I love a good pun. And again, this one is just not the color that I'm looking for. It's a little bit too muted. It's a little bit too toned down. It's similar to that HONA Tropicana shade where it's like muted but light. It's just not what I'm looking for, but it's still a gorgeous color. So let's give that a swatch. Scoot that over a bit. And yeah, it's also got that thin consistency that the IBD gel has, which is something that I'm not so used to with gel polishes. Most of my gel polishes have a thicker consistency unless they are one of those like glassy gels that are supposed to be a little bit more see-through. So I'm not really sure if this one's meant to be built up to full opacity, but even if this was the right shade, that alone would make it not the perfect orange for me, because like I keep saying, I'm looking for like a nice, densely pigmented shade. But even so, this one is just a little bit too brown. It has a little bit of a muted tone to it, not exactly what I'm looking for. Still a gorgeous color though. Next, I've got two from Koko Claire. This one is called Carve It Up, and this one is called Coral Sunrise. And based on the color over here and the name Coral Sunrise, I have a feeling this one is going to lean a little bit too much on the light pinky side, which is probably something I should have noticed before picking it up. But like I said, I based all of my purchases off of the swatches that they had online. So it must have looked a little orangey online if I picked it up, or maybe I just grabbed it for comparison reasons. I'm not exactly sure. We'll give it a swatch and we'll see how it goes. Like we've been seeing with all of these, they look different once they're swatched out, once they're built up with 2 layers. So they always look different from the cap, from the bottle, onto the swatch stick, and then with multiple layers. So everything has potential. Let's see what we got. Koko Claire Carve It Up. It's a bit of a pumpkin-y shade, and this one is similar to the tone that I'm looking for. It doesn't have too much of a grayish background or a white background like some of the brighter ones. However, it just is a bit too deep. It's not as bright as I was hoping for. It's like a little bit on the deeper end of the spectrum that I was looking for, but you never know. As it swatches out, it can look different. So let's give that a swatch. This color is gorgeous, and it's definitely, I think with the name Carve It Up is definitely supposed to be, you know, pumpkin inspired. But I think it's just a bit too deep for what I'm looking for. So far, the IBD Brazen Beat has been the closest. And just for a quick comparison so that we can see the difference, I mean, I'm going to put everything together at the end so we can really see. But I was just, you know, curious to see the difference. Here's IBD Brazen Beat, and here is Carve It Up from Koko Claire. And as you can see, this one is just a bit deeper. It looks a little bit brown in comparison to this one. So it's definitely not exactly what I'm looking for. Still a gorgeous color, perfect for the autumn season. Can't wait to use that on some pumpkin spice nails, some Thanksgiving nails, but not perfect for the summer season. Next, we have Coral Sunshine from Koko Claire. And again, this one is, yeah, you can see how pink this one is in comparison to some of the other ones. So this one is definitely not what I'm looking for this specific situation. But this is a gorgeous coral color for the summer and definitely has its place. Like I feel like I'm definitely missing even a perfect coral in my collection. So this one is definitely going to fill a gap. However, it's not the perfect orange that I'm looking for. Still a gorgeous color though. Look how gorgeous and bright that is. Next, we have Light Elegance Trippy. This one is a potted gel, so I'm going to use a brush to apply this. And this one is just a little too neon for what I'm looking for and a bit too deep. Gorgeous color, but similar to that IBD gel, was it called Eye-Poppie or something? It's leaning too red. So it's gorgeous, but it's not perfect. That color is absolutely stunning. Again, leaning closer towards a hot red. It almost looks like that end of summer sunset, like that last bit of, you know, sun right before it dips under the surface where it just gives this gorgeous, like, bright, hot flash of orange before it disappears for the night. This is such a stunning color. Not the perfect orange for what I'm looking for. However, gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Next up, I have 4 gel polishes from the brand Luxa. Now, this is a new brand to me. I've never used anything like this, anything from this brand before, but I was scrolling on Instagram at some point and one of their images, one of their photos popped up on my feed, and I was like, oh, that's a new brand that I haven't tried before, and it was while I was in the middle of searching for all of my oranges. So, you know, I've been trying to get a variety of different brands and different colors because everyone does something a little bit different when it comes to their gel polishes, their undertones, all of that stuff. So I went onto their website, and they had 4 gorgeous contenders for this competition here. So I picked up all 4 of them. I cannot wait to see what they're like swatching and stuff. Like I said, I've never tried this brand before, so I'm excited. It's completely new to me and the colors look very promising. So let's go. So first up, we have the shade Citrusly, and I love that. That is such a cute pun. I'm adorable. Love that. Okay, so let's see what we got. Okay. So this one is pretty close to what I'm looking for. It's just the tiniest bit too brown toned, like the tiniest bit. Again, I want to compare it to the Brazen Beat from IBD, simply because so far that one has been the closest to what I'm looking for, so that we can actually see. Oh, hold on. I spilled a bit of gel polish and I don't want to make a mess. Just gonna clean that up quickly. So far that's been the closest one, and when things look similar separately, I like putting them right next to each other so that we can see what they look like right next to each other, because things always look different. So here we go for Citrusly. This is a really nice consistency. It's not as densely pigmented or as thick as some other gels, like for example NailOrder or something like Après for their cream gels, but it's not as watery as the one from Kiara Sky or the IBD, so it's kind of like in between that. It's got decent pigment. We'll definitely have to build it up with a second swatch to just fill in the little gaps there, but consistency-wise so far for this gel, seeing as it's like the first time I've ever used it, I just want to give like a bit of like a, I guess, review my first initial impressions of it. It's really nice. I'm sure this will build up beautifully. Gorgeous color, but it's just the slightest bit too brown toned. So again, I'm just going to quickly compare it to the Brazen shade over here. So as you can see, this one is much brighter. This one's just the slightest bit too brown toned, a little bit too muted. Very close though. I don't know if it'll be in the top. We'll have to see how it compares to the rest of the shades. We still have a lot more to go, but it's gorgeous. Next, we've got the shade Mandarin Dream. It looks bright from here, but again, everything looks different in swatches. So this one looks like it's going to be a bit too hot, a bit too bright, similar to, which one was it? Was it the IBD Infinitely Curious and that one from Light Elegance, Trippy? It's just a little bit too bright, a little bit too hot colored. But again, we'll check it out in a swatch. Yeah, it's just leaning a little bit too neon for what I'm looking for. Neon and a bit too deep. Gorgeous color though. All of these are stunning. I've mentioned it multiple times because I don't want anyone to think that like I think that these are bad colors. They're all stunning. I mentioned before, orange is one of my favorite colors. I'm literally wearing it on my nails today. All of these are stunning, and all of these will have a gorgeous place in my collection of beautiful orange gel polishes. I just feel like there's a gap missing, and that's what I'm looking for. And none of these so far, except for that one IBD, which is close. It's very close. But I'm just looking for that one that'll fill in the gap. But all of these are absolutely stunning, really beautiful. This one is stunning too. Ugh, gorgeous. Next, we have the shade Mango Mohawk, and based on the top swatch, this looks like it might be one of those colors that I called like those Wacky Mac colors, where it's just a little bit too white-based and a little bit neon, kind of like, you know, that neon cheddar cheese that's probably not even real cheddar, is it? I'm not really sure. We don't ask questions. We just eat it, and we love it, but I have a feeling this one's going to be too light for what I'm looking for, so let's see. Okay, so it's not as light as that HONA Tigerlilly, which was like salmon colored practically, but it's still too white based. It's too light and it doesn't have the depth of the color that I'm looking for. Still a really gorgeous color though. Yeah, it's just a little bit too white based, a bit too soft. I'm looking for a slightly bolder color and something that doesn't have as much of a white pigment, because that really just tones it down a little bit and gives it like that slight, it's like almost Wacky Mac. It's like Wacky Mac. I don't know why I keep referring it to that. It's just that's the color that comes to mind. It's like Wacky Mac before you add the butter, maybe. Gorgeous color though. And again, nothing against Wacky Mac or the color that it is. It's just not the perfect orange. And honestly, if Wacky Mac was the perfect orange, I'd probably be concerned. But gorgeous color, just not the one I'm looking for. Last for Luxa is the shade Some-Tang Special. Again, really cute pun. I love when someone puts effort into putting something really cute together for a fun little shade name. This one looks, yeah, it looks like it's just the slightest bit too yellow. It's a little bit too yellow. It's a little bit too brown. Gorgeous color. Oh, I love that. That's a stunning color, but say it with me, not the perfect orange. So here we have Some-Tang Special. Again, I love it just for the name. Like, even if like this was totally off, it would still be Some-Tang Special to me because it's a gorgeous color and an adorable little punny name, which I really, really like. But regardless, stunning color. It's just a little bit too yellow, a little bit too yellowy brown. So not the perfect orange, but a beautiful color nonetheless. Next, I've got 3 colors from MadamGlam, and MadamGlam claims to have the perfect orange. I think they have a series where they have like a perfect of every color. I actually have the perfect black that I use a lot when I'm doing nail art and stuff. You've probably seen it in a bunch of my videos if you've seen it, if you've been here for a little bit, and they claim to have the perfect orange. They have a few other oranges as well, but they're saying this one's the best. For the sake of this video, I will be the judge of whether or not this is the perfect orange, but it could be close. We shall see. First up from MadamGlam, we have the shade Empower. This one looks like it might be a little bit too neon, but let's see what we got. Okay, so this one looks like it's just the slightest bit too neon, a bit too hot. That's a lot of what we're getting here. The IBD, what was it? Infinitely Curious, I think, was one, and the Luxa Mandarin Dream, the light Elegance Trippy one. A lot of these where they're like a very hot neon orange, which is not exactly what I'm looking for, but it seems to be like that's like a very popular color because almost all of these gels that I've picked up from it looks like they have something along those lines in their collection. So this one is just the slightest bit too neon for me, the slightest bit too hot, and it does have a more sheer consistency. Again, we'll see how it builds up because everything looks different in 2 coats, as we have definitely experienced here, but I don't think this is going to be the one. It's just the slightest bit too neon, a little bit too hot, starting to lean into the red territory. Not red at all, it's definitely orange, but it's starting to creep up onto that line. If we had like a spectrum of like the color shades and we have orange slowly starting to fade into red, this one is starting to get there. So not the perfect orange, but maybe the next one will be. MadamGlam seems to think so. Here we have perfect orange from MadamGlam, and I'm very excited to see if it is indeed the perfect orange. Based on the cap, it looks a little yellow, so far I'm not convinced. Yeah, this one, sorry, MadamGlam, but for what I'm looking for, this is not the perfect orange. This one is leaning a little bit too yellow. It's a little bit too warm. It doesn't have a strong enough orange base. It almost looks yellow in comparison to some of the other oranges, especially comparing to the oranges that are leaning red. So we'll give it a swatch, but I don't think this is going to be my perfect orange. Okay, starting with the swatch, the first layer, this one doesn't look as yellow on the swatch as it does on the brush. And we'll do a second coat. And because I'm super curious about this one, similar with that initial IBD gel that was pretty sheer, and then I did a second layer, and it is so far the top contender for my little competition here. I'll do this one, the second coat of this one on screen, and we'll see how it builds up, because honestly, it doesn't look as yellow. Maybe it does. I don't know. It's hard to tell. We'll do a second coat and see what it looks like after that. So let's see what MadamGlam's Perfect Orange looks like in a second coat. Okay, this one's close. It's still a little yellow for me. I'm looking for something a little bit deeper, something not so yellow toned in comparison to like the stripes that I have on my nails now, which I don't consider any of these perfect oranges either, hence why I'm still doing this video. You can see that it's just a little bit yellow in comparison to especially that like orangey glittery shade that I have in the stripes there. So it was close. It might be closer than some of the other ones that we've swatched. Definitely, I think so, especially in comparison to some of those super hot neon ones. However, for me, this is just not the perfect orange. Next from MadamGlam is Sunset in Hawaii. This one looks like it's going to be a little bit too light as well, but we shall see. It might be leaning a little bit too coral, but we're not going to make any assumptions. Yeah, well, I was right though. I assumed, and I didn't want to make any assumptions for real. However, my thoughts were correct. This one is just a little bit too light. It's leaning towards the salmon-y color. It's starting to take on a slight pink hue. Again, not pink, the same way the other oranges are not red, but they're starting to lean into that territory. And this one is just a little bit too white, a little bit too muted, a little bit too salmon-y. So I don't think this one is going to be, oops, I just did that on the wrong side. Hold on. So we'll try that again. I accidentally swatched the top side, and the reason why I like swatching on the inside, in case anyone was curious, is because then when you flip it over, the plastic of the swatch kind of gives the effect of a top coat, and then it kind of just lets you know what it looks like when you put a top coat, a nice shiny top coat over it. And I found that when I would put the swatch on the top, after like removing the inhibition layer with some alcohol, because most of these do dry with a little sticky layer, well, cure is a better word. Once they do cure with a slightly sticky layer, once I would remove that with alcohol, the color would look very dull on the top, and then I'd feel like I wanted to put a top coat over it so that you can get like the real feel of what the color would look like. So I just figured to save myself time and a lot of top coat, swatching it on the inside just gives that effect with the plastic built in. So that's why I do it upside down. But this is Sunset in Hawaii from MadamGlam. It's really beautiful, but it's starting to lean a little bit too pink, so not perfect. Next, I got two gel polishes from Magpie Beauty. We've got Darling Clementine and Virginia. So let's see what these got. Starting with Darling Clementine. I think you can probably all guess what I'm going to say. This one is leaning way too pink. It's way too corally salmon. It's not even coral. I think it's more salmon. It's very, very pink. It looks, that color looks like raw salmon. So this is definitely not my perfect orange. However, it is a gorgeous color. And if you're wondering why I keep referring to everything as food, like salmon or Wacky Mac, it's because I'm starving. Food is on my mind right now. But I feel like just describing something as, a salmon is a little bit, it's easy for that to be pictured in the mind as opposed to pulling up some obscure item or concept, because salmon pretty much is salmon. Raw salmon is what it is. Yeah. Gorgeous color. And I really like it, but it's leaning a little bit too pink for what I'm looking for. It's a little bit too salmony. It's a little bit too dulled for the bright orange that I'm looking for. So this one's not going to be it. Next, we've got Virginia. Oh, this one is way too yellow. And that's funny because like in comparison to like the swatch here, now this is not like an actual swatch of the gel polish. It's just a printed sticker. So getting the exact color is probably not 100% possible, but this one is super yellow, even in comparison to the sticker. I was concerned from the sticker that it would look a little bit too brownishy muted, like some of the other shades we've been swatching, like the Luxa Some-Tang Special. That was really pretty, but it was a little bit too brown. This one's practically yellow, and I'm surprised because definitely on the photos of their website, they looked more orange. Both of these shades from Magpie Beauty definitely looked more orange, because I remember being excited when I found them when I was browsing their website and saying, oh, those have a shot. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that because I was actually really looking forward to one of these being very close, but neither of them are. The other one was too salmony. This one's a little bit too yellow, but we will still give it a swatch. Still a gorgeous color, but just not the perfect orange that I'm looking for. It's almost yellow in comparison to some of the other ones. Gorgeous, but I would almost put this on like my yellow swatch rings. I showed you before, like in the beginning of the video, all of my swatches of previous oranges that I've had. I do that with all of my colors. So all of my gel polishes are organized by color. And honestly, I might even put this on the yellow swatch ring, because this one, I don't know, it's one of those colors that can go either way. And in comparison to all of the oranges that we've been swatching, this one really looks yellow. Next, I've got three gel polishes from NailOrder. We've got Tigerlilly, Lit, and Burning Man. And like I just mentioned, I did show in the beginning the my ring of swatches, and I did point out one of the gels from NailOrder, kind of pointing out that it was like almost perfect, but not. Clearly, it wasn't the perfect orange for me, that previous one, that one that I've had from before, because then I wouldn't have purchased 27 new gel polishes to continue my hunt for the perfect orange. So although that one was close, it's not part of this competition because A, I already owned it from before and it wasn't the perfect one, because hence I bought 25 or 27, I think it's actually, new gel polishes. So that one clearly wasn't the winner, but maybe one of these will be. Starting with Burning Man. This one is a little bit too neon. A little bit too neon, a little bit too light. It's better than that Magpie one that we just swatched that was almost yellow. Again, I don't want to make it seem like I'm disappointed in the colors or that I think they're ugly. I think that Magpie one was absolutely stunning. Both of them are, just not the perfect orange. And like I said, I was kind of hoping that one of those would be. So I'm a little disappointed in that regard. However, it's still a gorgeous color. This one Definitely has more orange to it, and we'll see what it looks like swatched out, because it does seem like it's a bit of a thinner consistency. It might build up really nicely, so this one's a little bit more promising. Let's give that one a swatch. But in comparison to a lot of the other NailOrder ones, this one is a much thinner consistency. Typically, I'm expecting, or I'm used to, a little bit more of like a thicker, creamy consistency, so I'm actually surprised with this consistency. It's a bit too light. That's what I'm going to say right off the bat. It's a bit too light. It's not as strong of a color as I'm hoping for to find. So yeah, I mean, it looks a little pale. It looks a little muted. We'll see what it looks like built out, but I don't think this is going to be the winner. I wanted to swatch this NailOrder Burning Man the second time on camera as well, just because it's a very thin consistency. And for some of these that are very thin, but then build up to a pretty strong color, I just feel like seeing that live, as opposed to just seeing it later, is just pretty cool, because a lot of them look like they won't really build up too much and then do have a much stronger pigment once they get built up. So we'll do this one. It's pretty close. It's definitely not the perfect orange, not exactly what I have in mind. It's a little bit too light and not as strong of an orange, but it's definitely close. It's just the slightest bit too yellow. Next up, we have the shade Lit. And this one, oh, this one's practically pink. Okay, this one is definitely not going to be winning any orange competitions here, because this one's practically pink. It's this bright, hot coral color. Gorgeous, but not orange. So let's give this one a swatch. Beautiful color, very summery. It's a gorgeous, like, summery pink. Summery coral. And it definitely has orangey undertones in the sense that, like, I think it's more of a pink with an orange undertone as opposed to an orange with a pink undertone. But you let me know what you think, because, you know, people see colors differently and people have different perspectives on color as well. So maybe I'm just being too picky, but I think this one's just a little bit too pink for what I'm looking for. Yeah, this one's definitely pink. Similar to how I might put that Magpie Virginia on the yellow swatch ring, I might put this one on the pink swatch ring. Might have to see, because this one's looking very pink to me. And lastly, from NailOrder, we have the shade Tigerlilly. And this one is just too light. It's too light, it's too pastel-y, it's got too much of a white base to it, it's not strong enough in the orange, it's too light. So we'll give it a swatch, but this one's also like, it's another version of coral, where the previous one was like corally pink, this one's corally orange. Definitely in the orange family, but still leaning on pink. It's a little bit too light, not exactly what I'm looking for. So I've got one gel polish here from OPI. This is in the shade Silicone Valley Girl. This one looked really promising on the website, so let's give this one a look. Ooh, that was tight. And this one looks like it's just a bit too deep. It's a bit too deep, it's a bit brown, not exactly the bright orange that I'm looking for. We'll give that a swatch. It still looks like a gorgeous color. It looks like it's a very thin consistency as well. It's a thin consistency, but it's definitely got more pigment on the initial go-around in comparison to the IBD gels, but it is thinner than some of the other gels we've been using here. It's interesting. I've never used such thin gels before. Maybe I need to widen my horizons a little bit when it comes to different gel consistencies, different gel brands and polishes, because I was not expecting so many of them to be so thin in consistency. I really like it. But when it comes to color, this one's just a little bit too brown. It's a little too brown, it's a little too deep, not what I'm looking for. And this is Orly, what's that shade? Hold on, it's really small. Neon Cream. Ooh, that's not giving me any kind of hope for what color this is going to be based on the sticker packaging over here. It doesn't look like it's going to be neon, so we'll just have to see. But I just swatched, well, we're about to swatch number 27. I bought 27 gel polishes to try to find the perfect orange, and so far I don't think that I found the perfect one. I found one that's really, really close. That's that IBD gel that from the first time I swatched it, from the initial swatch, I've kept referencing that one as that one might be the best, but it's still a bit off. So if this one is not perfect, then I still have some hunting to do to find the perfect orange. I mean, let me know, do you think I'm being like super picky? I feel like I just have not found my perfect orange despite all of these shades. So let's see if that last one is going to be the final one, the winning one, or if I still have some more searching to do. Okay, well, first of all, this is not neon. So it's closer in color to the packaging than the name. Definitely not neon. but it's a bit too muted. It's not as bright. It's a little bit toned down. It's got a bit of brown in it that's making it look a little bit softer and a little bit more on the browny yellow side. So, oh, that's a gorgeous application. That's a beautiful consistency. It's thin like the other thin ones that we've been using, but the pigment is a lot stronger. It goes on much smoother. You can see it doesn't have the same streaks as the other thinner ones do that require building up so that it gets a smooth surface. This one is like smooth and streak free despite being such a thin consistency. So consistency wise and application wise, this one was one of my favorites. Really nice. But I mean, look at that color. It's just a little too yellow. It's not the perfect orange. Gorgeous consistency, gorgeous application, beautiful. I'm interested in looking into more Orly shades now, but not the perfect orange. All right, so here are the 27 gel polishes that I purchased and swatched out on my hunt for the perfect orange. As you can see, they are all laying next to each other and they all look a little bit different once they're sitting next to other colors, but I don't think that in this selection I have found the perfect orange. This one is practically red. That one's leaning towards red. These are super pink. This one is close, but it's too yellow. This one is leaning brown. This one's practically red as well. This one's neon. This one's too brown. This one looks brown in comparison to sitting next to the two. This one looks pink as well. I don't think I found the perfect orange. However, the two closest are MadamGlam Perfect Orange and the IBD Brazen Beat. Now, I'm going to scoot these aside a little bit just so we can see them next to each other. They are pretty close to each other, which is why I think that, you know, they are the winners for at least this competition here. These are practically the same color. Now, why isn't it the perfect orange for me? They lean the slightest bit too yellow. They're a little bit too, I keep saying muted, and I don't mean muted in the way that like they look grayish, but they don't have that bright orange pop. I wish I had a color next to me or something where I can compare it to just on the camera so that you as the viewers can see what I'm trying to look for, like what I have in mind when I'm looking for the perfect orange. These two are practically the same color, so these are the closest. And I did mention that while I was swatching. When I was swatching Brazen Beat, I said this one looks really close. And when I was swatching MadamGlam Perfect Orange, I said it's very, very close. It's just the slightest bit too muted. It doesn't have enough vibrancy, so that definitely still stands. I do think these two are the winners for, let's say, like this round, especially in comparison to the others. I mean, in comparison to this is Light Elegance Trippy. That's practically red. And in comparison to, which one? It was like this one, Tigerlilly, or we can even grab this one. This one's also Tigerlilly. So the two Tigerlillys from NailOrder and from HONA, I mean, that looks pink in comparison. So, I mean, and this one, you know, from Magpie looks orange. Look at that sitting next to each other. That's practically, I mean, yellow. I'm sorry. This one from Magpie looks yellow in comparison to the oranges next to it. So you can definitely see that right there. So I don't think I found my perfect orange yet. And the fact that I bought 27 gel polishes and still have not found the perfect orange is a little bit, you know, disheartening. I mean, look at it sitting next to Mandarin Dream. That one's practically red in comparison. So, I mean, all of these colors are gorgeous. And I am excited to have all of them, even though that one's definitely going on the red swatch. That one's going on the yellow swatch. And these two are definitely, that one too, definitely going on the pink swatch stick. So, swatch ring. So, I definitely did not find my perfect orange in this selection, but I found a couple that were really, really close. Let me know if you have the perfect orange gel and what that one is, because as you can see, I am still searching. Maybe I'll do another one of these. I don't know. I feel like I'm a little bit maxed out, at least for now. Let me know what other brands I should check out, because I've been exploring some new brands that I haven't tried before. Let me know what you thought of this video. Like I said, it's very different from what I normally do, but hopefully it was relaxing and fun to watch. Maybe you found your perfect orange in this selection. Even if I didn't, maybe you found yours. So let me know if you found your perfect orange, whether if it's in this video or from somewhere else. Let me know what that is, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!